You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up the better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of What If Naruto Enters Hazbin Hotel. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of KFB Anime 87 on fanfiction.net. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Downstairs. Vaggie walked downstairs to see everyone waiting for her. Alastor and Charlie just left like they were running away from their responsibilities. Should we be worried? Angel asked as he pointed at the door. No, we have a plan, but it involves defending ourselves from the angels, Vaggie said with a firm tone as she looked at everyone. Are you F-high? Husk asked, shocked at this as this wasn't what he was expecting. Yeah, 'cause I want some, gah. What the hell, man? Sun was saying before Matatabi slapped him in the back of the head. They can be killed, Vaggie said with a firm tone as she looked at everyone as some of the egg bois ran by her. Yeah, that knife lady Carmilo Carnite killed one, Frank said as he looked up at Vaggie. Wait, you knew about this? Vaggie asked as she got on her knees to look at the egg boi. Yeah, I told boss about it months ago, Frank said as he looked at Serpentius. He what? Vaggie asked as she glared at Serpentius, obviously not happy about this. What? They say insane SHT all the time. How was I supposed to know this one was real? Serpentius asked. Bank accounts are a scam created by the shadow government, Frank said with a happy smile. See? Serpentius yelled as he pointed at Frank. Yeah, we have that same problem in our family, Chome said with a sigh. 3 guesses who, Saiken said to Angel, who was about to ask who before everyone looked at Shikaku. What? Pepsi and Coke are the same thing, I tell you. Shikaku yelled with a mad grin. Vaggie sighed at this as she held her forehead. What's important now is that we're gonna have a fight on our hands. Look, this hotel is about to become the most dangerous place in hell and I can't guarantee your safety anymore, she said as she looked at everyone. Everyone looked at Vaggie as she continued to speak. I still believe in Charlie's dream. I know this place can work, but you guys didn't sign up for this. I'm gonna go find out how we can hurt them, and when I come back, well, I'll understand if you're not here, Vaggie said as she looked back at them before leaving the hotel. Everyone sighed at this as they were now left alone in the hotel. Well, this is awkward, Serpentius said as he rubbed the back of his head. Niffty said with a smile as she held up her hand. So what's the plan? I have my SHT packed and a place picked out, so let's get while the getting is, gah. Shikaku was saying as he grabbed some suitcases and walked towards the door before Matatabi grabbed him by the back of his neck and lifted him up into the air. We're not going anywhere, Kurama said with a firm tone of voice. Same here, Angel said with a nod along with Serpentius. Yeah, I'll stay too, but I got to ask, why are you guys staying? Husk asked the tailed beasts. Yeah, why the F are we staying here when we're finally free again? Shikaku yelled as he struggled to get loose from Matatabi's grip. Because if I know Naruto, he will be back eventually, Matatabi said with a glare at her little brother. Plus we owe it to Minato to watch his back, Kurama said with a firm tone, getting nods from the other tailed beasts. Oh, come on. That brat beats the SHT out of me, puts me under contract and hypes me up with some plan to attack heaven and then chokes at the last second, and now you expect me to help defend this place when I have the chance to leave. What's my incentive? Shikaku ranted as he waved his arms in the air. Shikaku, Niffty said with a sing-song tone as she smiled madly at him and held up a knife. F my weaknesses for a pisco as hell be. Oi. Shikaku yelled out before Matatabi dropped him onto the ground. Okay, soldiers, get to work getting this place fortified and ready for the upcoming battle, Serpentius said as he looked at everyone. Everyone nodded at this as they quickly got to work. With Charlie. Meanwhile with Charlie, she and Alastor were entering a neighborhood in hell and walked past a sign that said Cannibal Town. 3 years. 3 years I have been sharing my life with her and I tell her everything, and my brother. We grew up together and he just shows up to use my hotel to try and wage war against heaven. Charlie ranted to Alastor as they walked. I do so love hearing about this, but you do realize who you're talking to, right? As I honestly don't care, Alastor said casually. It's just hard to accept all of this and it's not like there is anyone else I can talk to right now. Wait, where are we? Charlie said with a sigh before she looked around the neighborhood and saw that it was actually pretty nice with happy people. Cannibal Town, and you're in luck. We're going to see someone that can both help us with our manpower problem and can possibly give you some insight into your dear brother's thought process, Alastor said as they entered a shop. Who? Charlie asked curiously as she thought she knew her brother, but obviously she didn't know everything. Alastor pointed at the main desk of the shop where Rosie was standing talking to a customer. Well, who hasn't thought about eating their first husband? I certainly would have if he didn't taste so bad, Rosie said with a smile. Naruto is friends with her? Charlie asked Alastor curiously. Indeed, surprised me too. I do believe she was as thick as thieves with his mother, so he calls her auntie, Alastor said with a chuckle. Oh my stars. Do my eyes deceive me? Alastor, is that you? These halls lost some of their sparkle without your lively presence. Oh, who is this you brought with you? Come now, Alastor, she's much too young for you. Oh, I'm just kidding, I know you're a ace in the hole, Rosie asked as she approached them and greeted the radio demon before she spotted Charlie and smiled at Alastor as she continued to talk. What now? Alastor asked as he looked at Rosie. Where are your manners, mister? Introduce us, why don't you? Rosie said as she looked at Charlie. Ah yes, Charlie, this is Rosie, the most darling and delightful overlord this side of the pentagram, Alastor said as she introduced Charlie. Always such a charmer, Rosie said with a smile as she bowed her head at Charlie in greeting. And Rosie, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Princess Charliemorningstar, daughter of Lucifer and heir to the throne of hell, Alastor said as he pushed Charlie forward. How do you do? Charlie said with a awkward wave and laugh. Well, if this isn't a surprise. Naruto always told me about his big sister, but not that she was such a sweetheart. Come sit down, Rosie said as she pulled Charlie to a chair and table nearby. Naruto talked to you about me? Charlie asked curiously. Of course. That boy always talked about you and how much mischief you got into when you were kids. Is it true he actually brought an army of RBB ducks to life? Rosie asked as she sat down. Charlie's eye twitched as memories from the past came back to her. Years ago. Run, Charlie. Run for your life. Lucifer screamed as he and his young daughter rushed through the halls of the manor as they were chased down by a massive army of RBB duckies. Hell world domination. The leader of the ducks shouted as his long red cape flowed in the wind. Dad, they're gaining on us. Charlie shouted in a panic. Quick this wadash, Lucifer paused as looked over to see several RBB ducks riding in miniature fighter planes flying towards them. We have met the enemy and he is you. The duck captain stated, shooting off mini bullets at the feet of the king and princess of hell, making them to jump around trying to avoid the bullets, making a break for the window. Quick, out the window, this one leads to the pool. Charlie shouted. Suddenly a cannon busted through the window, hitting Lucifer in the stomach, knocking him into the wall nearby. Charlie looked out the window to see several RBB ducks sitting atop miniature ships, from destroyers to pirate ships. Fire the cannon, the duck captain showed, shooting off another massive cannonball at Charlie, who quickly ducked it just in time. Poor Lucifer was not so fortunate as he was hit yet again. Soon ducks began to burst from every corner of the mansion, spilling out into the city itself, causing absolute destruction and chaos as they marched onwards. Yes. Yes. Chaos will spill all across the land, a child, Naruto cackled madly as he rode on top of a giant RBB duck. I'm home, how was your what the F? Lilith uttered, shocked at seeing the sight of rampaging RBB ducks spitting out fire, shooting off missiles, cannonballs, and bullets. She looked to the corner where a bound and gagged hogtied Charlie and Lucifer rested. MMPH. 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 The two cried out, bouncing on the floor. What the hell is going on? Lilith asked, taking notice of a massive shadow over her, and turned to see a massive giant fire-breathing RBB duck. Oh, you've gotta be kidding me. Lilith said, monotone of voice as she slapped her forehead. Flashback end. Ya mom wasn't happy with dad for teaching him magic that day. They kept screaming about world domination, Charlie said with a shudder at the memory. Rosie laughed at this while Alastor's smile got bigger. Ah, such a little troublemaker, just like his mother, Rosie said with a smile. You were friends with his mom? Charlie asked curiously. Of course, Mikushina and Carmilla were the best of friends back in the day, Rosie said as her smile got bigger. As fun as this trip down memory lane is, Rosie, were her on important business. The princess needs a favor, Alastor said as he looked at Charlie. Oh. What kind of favor? Rosie asked curiously as she looked at Charlie as they started to talk. With Naruto. Meanwhile, with Naruto, he was in a restaurant in the gluttony ring, his head slammed on a table while he was surrounded by empty ramen bowls. Another round, Naruto groaned as he looked up at the waiter who approached his table. Sir, I think you have had enough, the waiter was saying before he was cut off as Naruto grabbed him by the front of his shirt. I'll tell you when I have had enough. Now give me another bowl. Naruto yelled as he lightly shook the waiter. Okay, where is he? Bee asked as she entered the restaurant. Oh heaven, DMN, you called Bee? Naruto groaned as he let go of the waiter. Babe, what are you doing? Bee asked as she approached Naruto. Just enjoying some ramen, Naruto grumbled as he sat down. Bullshit, you know I can tell when someone is indulging themselves to cover up for something else, so spill it, Bee said with a firm tone as she gave Naruto a look that showed she wasn't buying his excuses. I F up, that's what, I used my own sister to make my own plans against heaven and then I fumbled at the end because I saw the truth over there, Naruto groaned as he grabbed his hair in frustration. Okay, maybe you should start from the beginning, let's get out of here, Bee said as she handed the waiter some bills before she grabbed Naruto's arm and pulled him to his feet before pulling him to the door. You're the best, babe, I don't know why I even looked at Emily, Naruto grumbled under his breath, his food coma getting to him. Who the F is Emily? Bee growled, lightly channeling some power as they left the restaurant. So this is how I die, Naruto said as he quickly came to his senses before he quickly tried to explain to Bee. One long explanation later. Later, after going back to Bee's place, Naruto had explained what had happened after calming her down. Geez babe, you were planning on stopping the yearly exterminations by attacking them with the tailed beasts. Huh, I thought those guys were just old folk tales, Bee said as she sat down next to Naruto on her couch. Well, it's not like there is proof redemption is even possible, Naruto said with a sigh as while he wanted to believe in Charlie's dream, he has seen the worst in hell unlike his sister, so it was harder for him to believe it was possible. I don't know, from what I saw that hotel was making some progress, Angel and that Pentious guy, from what little I saw of them, Bee said as she shrugged. Yeah, that's true, Naruto said as he had to admit that Angel and Sir Pentious were actually trying to redeem themselves and do better. Even more impressive, your sis is actually making progress with those tailed beasts of yours. Shikaku's progress alone should get your sister AF medal, Bee said with a chuckle. They aren't mine anymore, Naruto said as he sighed. Oh. Bee asked, raising an eyebrow at this. Part of my deal was that when I got to heaven and came back I would let them go. Plus, you know me, I don't like the whole contract thing. I just did this because it was the only way to get them to go along with my plan, Naruto said as he shook his head. So the fact that some seraphim sweet talked you into not going through with it didn't change anything about your deal, Bee said with a firm tone as she gave Naruto a look. Babe, I didn't go through with it because I found out only the exorcists knew about the yearly attacks. I just couldn't attack heaven and kill innocent souls when they had no idea what was going on down here, Naruto said with a firm tone. And the fact that this Emily was cute had nothing to do with it, Bee stated as she rose an eyebrow at Naruto. Okay, maybe a little bit, Naruto said with a sheepish chuckle. Well, at least you're honest, Bee said with a smirk at her boyfriend. So you're not mad? Naruto asked as he grabbed Bee's hand. About this whole plan you had? Nah, you just wanted to stop the yearly killings. At least you didn't go through with it once you knew most of heaven is clueless about it, Bee said as she shrugged. Good, hopefully I can figure out what to do about me and sis, Naruto said with a sigh. I'm sure you two will figure things out, babe. Now who's cuter, me or this Emily? Bee said as she put her hand on Naruto's shoulder before she smirked at Naruto as she asked her question. Naruto went silent at this before he chuckled nervously at his girlfriend's look. Later with Charlie. With Charlie, she was in Rosie's room after a bad attempt at trying to convince the cannibals of her district to join her in defending the hotel. So what's on your mind? Rosie asked as she entered the room. I'm having problems focusing, problems with my girlfriend, Charlie said with a frown. Problems of the heart? My specialty, tell Auntie Rosie what the problem is, Rosie said with a smile as she sat down next to Charlie. Well, recently I found out that my girlfriend, who I have been with for years, was actually an exorcist and used to take part in what I'm trying to stop. I mean, why wouldn't she tell me? Does she think I wouldn't accept her? I'm the most accepting person in hell, Charlie said as she frowned. Well, SHT, you don't have small problems, do you? Between you and Naruto, and now you're not having a good day, are you? Rosie asked after blinking in surprise at this information. Charlie frowned at this before she shook her head. Look, when it comes to your girl, it can be hard to admit to things we're not proud of, especially things that hurt those we care about. I mean, does this girl care about you? Rosie asked curiously. Of course, she's been nothing but supportive, Charlie said as she nodded. Then it sounds to me like she's trying to make up for her past in her own way by being there for you. I mean, your hotel is all about redemption, right? Rosie asked with a smile. Charlie was silent at this before she smiled back at Rosie and nodded. Now about Naruto, Rosie said as she slightly frowned. Charlie also frowned at this. I can't believe he thought that attacking heaven would be the best way to help, she said as she looked at her feet. Rosie sighed at this as she shook her head. Something you have to understand, dear, is that Naruto has always had an axe to grind against heaven, between his mother disappearance and the yearly exorcisms, she was saying before she was cut off. That and his dad, Charlie said with a low tone. Ah, so you know, Rosie said as she frowned. Yeah, he kinda revealed what he was while we were up there, Charlie said with her own frown. Yes, well, when it comes to Naruto and heaven, he always thought that they were all like Adam, so I can see why he would have no qualms with his plan to attack them, Rosie said as she sighed again. And when he found out that most of heaven didn't know that, why he didn't go through with it, Charlie said as her eyes widened in realization. That sounds like Naruto. He was always one to make sure those he attacks has it coming, Rosie said with a smile. I need to find him and make things right. Charlie yelled as she stood up. Whoa, hold on there, first you need to try again with recruiting my cannibals to your cause. Don't worry, you can go find your brother later, Rosie said as she stood up and grabbed Charlie's shoulder. Charlie paused at this before nodding and leaving the room to go back outside to the crowd of cannibals, leaving Rosie alone. As she did this, Alastor's shadow appeared in the room and he came out of the shadow. So Naruto is a Nephilim, fascinating, he said with a grin. Before Rosie turned to look at Alastor. I would appreciate it if you kept that to yourself, Alastor, Rosie said with a firm tone of voice. Oh, don't worry, my dear, Naruto's secret is safe with me, though I'm surprised you are so protective, Alastor said as he waved his hand dismissively before he looked at Rosie curiously. I owe it to his mother to keep his secret, Rosie said as she left the room with a smile as she thought about her old friend. Later, after convincing Rosie's cannibals to join them in defending the hotel, Charlie was now leading them back to the hotel and paused when she saw Vaggie, who now had angel wings and was being escorted home by some of Carmilla's minions who were hauling some wooden crates full of angelic weapons. Looks like you had a busy day, Vaggie said as she looked behind Charlie, seeing the army of cannibals. You too, Charlie said as she looked behind Vaggie at the crates of weapons. Look, Charlie, Vaggie was saying before she was cut off. Hold that thought. Ah. I got you a souvenir from Cannibal Town, Charlie said as she reached into her pocket and held out a shrunken head to Vaggie and smiled at her. Vaggie gasped at this before her eyes started to well up with tears before she hugged Charlie, glad she wasn't mad at her anymore. Charlie smiled at this as she hugged her girlfriend. The wings are new, they look nice. Come on, let's go home, she said as she led Vaggie towards the hotel. When they opened the door they saw everyone working on fortifying the hotel. We need more wood over here, Snake Boy. Kurama yelled as he helped Gyuki and Chome fortify a window. Serpentius and his egg boy quickly moved to bring more wood over to them. Well, look who decided to show up. Angel said with a grin at Charlie and Angel as he put his arms around Husk and Serpentius. Yeah, we thought we were gonna fight these SHT heads ourselves. Shikaku yelled as he walked by wearing a construction helmet. You're still here, Vaggie said as she smiled at them while Charlie looked on the verge of tears of joy at the fact that they were still here. What? Did you think we're a bunch of pussies? Serpentius asked as he hissed a bit. I just got used to you guys, I'm not gonna go find new drinking buddies, Husk said with a scoff at everyone before he smiled. I just got done naming all the stains on the carpet that one's Fred, Niffty said with a grin as she pointed at a stain on the carpet that kinda looked like a face. I'm so happy you guys decided to stay, Charlie said with a smile at everyone. Yeah, I gotta admit I at least expected you lot to bail after Naruto tore up your contacts, Vaggie said as she looked at the tailed beasts. Hey, we may be the OG badass but we have some loyalty, Sun said with a grin as he helped Saiken fortify a wall. Wait, Naruto freed them? Charlie asked as she smiled, glad to hear this. Yeah, after your fight he ripped up our contracts and then bailed, Shikaku said as he used his sand to fly into the air so he could try and nail some wood over a window. Naruto left? Charlie asked, her heart dropping at this as while she expected him to make himself scarce for a bit she didn't expect him to actually leave. I'm afraid so, Matatabi said with a sigh as she looked at the Princess of Hell. Charlie frowned at this as while she was still upset with Naruto she still cared about him. Do any of you know where he might be? Vaggie asked the tailed beasts, knowing that her girlfriend would want to find her brother right away. If I know that idiot, he's probably on a hardcore ramen binge, gah. Cut the SHT. Shikaku said as he flew down from the window he was fortifying before Kurama slapped him in the back of the head. Ramen binge? Angel asked, raising an eyebrow curiously at this. He always goes on a ramen binge when he's emotionally upset, Matatabi said as she adjusted her glasses. So he's actually upset over what he almost did? Charlie asked, hopeful that her brother wasn't behind her reach. Indeed, if you want to find him he most likely to the gluttony ring, seeing as they have the best ramen dash, Chome was saying before she was cut off. He's with his girl Bee, Angel and Husk said together as realization hit them both. Charlie's eyes widened at this before she looked at Vaggie. I'm with you babe, let's go get your brother, Vaggie said as she nodded at Charlie. Charlie smiled at this as she and Vaggie left the hotel, leaving everyone to get back to work on fortifying the hotel. Okay everyone, let's get back to DMN at Shikaku, I said not to use Isabu. Matatabi was saying before she saw the Tanuki demon using the turtle demon who was still hiding in his shell to block the fireplace. Hey! Those angelic F-wads will most likely pull that Santa Claus SHT and we need to be ready people. Shikaku yelled out as he looked up from his work hole. Everyone groaned at his stupidity while Niffty giggled. Later with Charlie. Charlie and Vaggie were sitting in a limousine as it made its way into the gluttony ring and soon it parked in front of a big house. I expected something bigger from someone who calls herself the Queen Bee, Charlie said as she and Charlie got out of the limousine. Not everyone likes a mansion babe, Vaggie said as they approached the front door. Let's just find Naruto, Charlie said as she pushed the button on the intercom next to the door. Yes, a male voice coming from the intercom. We are here to see my brother, he's here with your boss, Charlie said as she looked up at a security camera that was looking at them. Hold please, the male voice said before there was some silence. Hey sis. Look, Naruto is going through some things and Bee was saying before she was cut off. Don't sis me. Just let me talk to my little brother. Charlie yelled into the intercom, her eyes going red from her anger. Charlie, calm down, Vaggie said as she placed her hand on her girlfriend's shoulder. Hey! What's your problem? Bee yelled over the intercom, her choice going from friendly to angry. My problem is, instead of staying with me to try and fix things between us, my little brother ran off with someone who will just encourage him to indulge in the things to cover his feelings. Charlie yelled into the intercom as she started to slightly turn into her demonic form. There was silence at this before the front door of Bee's house burst open, revealing Bee, who was channeling her own power as she glared at Charlie. You got a problem with me, pixie stick? Don't F with me. Bee yelled as she slightly grew bigger and towered over both Charlie and Vaggie, who was glaring at her and flowing at this. Bee. Naruto's voice yelled at this, making Bee and Charlie pause as they looked inside the house and saw Naruto, who was walking towards them. Bee sighed at this as she stopped using her power and shrunk back to normal. Sorry, got a little spicy there. You know I can't stand it when someone accuses me of being a bad influence, especially if it's with you, babe, she said as she looked at Naruto. I know, Bee. Now what do you want, sis? Hey. Naruto was asking before Charlie tackled him into a hug. Don't you ever just leave like that again. Do you have any idea how worried I was? Charlie yelled as she hugged Naruto. Naruto blinked at this before he chuckled. Yeah, sorry about that, sis, I just needed some time to myself so I can get my mind straight, he said as he looked down at his sister. You call going on a ramen binge and having me come to bail you out of debt getting your mind straight? Bee asked as she raised an eyebrow. You aren't okay with that? Vaggie asked curiously. Of course not. I like when people embrace gluttony, sure, but not when they are indulging themselves to cover up their emotions, Bee said as she gave Naruto a look of disapproval. Charlie blinked at this before she frowned as she didn't know this about Bee. Yeah, my Bee is a responsible party girl, Naruto said with a smile at his girlfriend as Charlie let him go. Bee smiled at this before she looked at Charlie and Vaggie. I'm guessing you two want to talk to Naruto? Yes please, Vaggie said, nodding at this. Well, Naruto came out of his room, so come on and we can have some dinner while we chat. Have you ate yet? Bee asked as she led everyone inside. Not yet, Charlie said as she Vaggie and Naruto followed Bee inside. Good, I'll get started. Hey sis, you want to lend me a hand? Naruto asked as he looked at Vaggie. Huh? Me? I'm not a chef, Vaggie said as she pointed at herself, surprised at this. Nonsense, I'm sure you can help plenty, Naruto said as he grabbed Vaggie's hand and dragged her into the kitchen, leaving Charlie and Bee alone. Looks like Naruto still doesn't want to talk to me, Charlie said with a sigh as she sat down in a couch. I think it's more he wants us to have some girl talk after we almost made my front yard a battleground, Bee said as she also took a seat. Oh, sorry about that, I just thought with you being all about gluttony that you, well, Charlie was saying before she trailed off. You were worried I was a worse version of his Bee of an ex, huh? Bee asked curiously as she slightly scowled at the thought of Velvet. Exactly, back when he was seeing her he didn't exactly have the best attitude, Charlie said with a sigh. Yeah, I have heard about his rebel phase, that CNT bring a major part of it, Bee said as she chuckled. So did he tell you what happened? Charlie asked curiously, wondering if Bee knew what was going on. Yeah, and I already told him he is an idiot for thinking that was the right move, so you're welcome, Bee said as she nodded at Charlie. I mean, I can understand why he hates heaven if he thinks most of them are all like Adam, but to want to attack them all like they attack us, Charlie said as she frowned. Bee sighed at this as she could see this was bothering Charlie. Look, what you need to understand is that while Naruto believes I'm what you're trying to do, he isn't afraid to embrace his inner darkness if it means he has a chance to get what he wants, she said firmly. And I'm guessing he wanted to lashing out at heaven because of his mother, Charlie said as she frowned. Yeah, it may have been a while since she disappeared, but it still bothers him, hence why he lashed out, Bee said, nodding at this. I am just glad he didn't go through with it, Charlie said as she sighed. Well, yeah, Naruto may be willing to embrace his dark side, but he would never hurt people who are innocent, Bee said as she waved one of her hands and summoned some tea for her and Charlie. Charlie smiled at this as she took a offered cup of tea. With Naruto. Meanwhile, with Naruto, he was busy preparing dinner for them all with Vaggie's help. He was preparing some steaks with a baked potato and some boiled vegetables which Vaggie was chopping up while the water heated up. While Vaggie was chopping the vegetables, she silently watched Naruto as if analyzing him. "There a reason you are watching me?" Naruto asked as he continued to cook the steaks, not looking at Vaggie, who blinked in surprise at being called out. Well, I'm just kinda kicking myself. Now that I take a better look at you, you definitely resemble Lord Min Dash, Vaggie was saying before she was cut off as Naruto turned to look at her. "Free advice, sis, don't mention him to me," Naruto said as he glared lightly at Vaggie for emphasis. "Right, sorry, wait, I'm still sis," Vaggie said with a nod at Naruto before she noticed he still called her by his nickname for her. "Well, yeah, why wouldn't you be?" Naruto asked as he went back to cooking. "Well, I used to be a exorcist angel and I thought, well," Vaggie was saying as she trailed off, wondering how Naruto would respond. Naruto sighed at this before he turned to look at Vaggie. "Look, I'll admit it's surprising, but at the end of the day actions are what matter most, and when it comes to you all I see is my sister's loyal girlfriend who is a great person and is obviously trying to make up for a lot of bad shit she has done in the past," he said as he continued to cook. Vaggie blinked at this before her eyes started to well up with tears a bit. "Hey, relax, will you? It's not that big a deal, sis, you just stay strong for sis and keep doing what you're doing," Naruto said as he looked at Vaggie with an encouraging smile. "Alright," Vaggie said as she wiped her eyes before she went back to chopping the vegetables. Later, Charlie and Bee were sitting at the dining table waiting while Naruto and Vaggie came into the room with their food. "Sorry for the wait," Naruto said as he and Vaggie passed out the plates of food. "Don't sweat it, babe, you know I would wait as long as it takes for your food," Bee said with a smile at Naruto. "So you guys hash things out?" Vaggie asked Charlie as she sat next to her. "Yeah, we're cool now," Charlie said as she nodded before she smiled at Bee. Bee smiled back at this before giving Charlie a thumbs up. "Yeah, well, me and sis hashed things out too, though it was more her being afraid of my reaction to her than anything," Naruto said as he sat next to Bee. "That's good, she seems like a good one even if she's an angel," Bee said as she looked at Vaggie, who chuckled nervously before they started to eat. Naruto paused in what he was doing as he could see that Charlie was still nervous around him. "Look, sis dash," Naruto was saying before he was cut off. "Naruto, you don't need to explain after talking to Roiz and now Bee, I now understand why you were so angry at heaven and almost did what you did," Charlie said as she put on a smile for her brother. Naruto nodded at this, but after a few moments he sighed. "Look, Charlie, I am sorry about not being truthful about why I came to your hotel. I should have been more truthful with my own intentions, especially with my sister," he said as he bowed his head slightly. "I said it's fine, little bro, though if you want to make it up to me you can start by coming back and helping us prepare for when Adam and his army come on Extermination Day," Charlie said as she started to cut her steak. "Count on it, sis," Naruto said with a smile and a nod before he too went back to his food. "Wait, you guys are actually gonna fight back? Wow, Pixie Stick, you do have some crazy in you, huh?" Bee asked before she started to laugh, but not in a mean way. "Well, the princess and prince of hell being a little crazy might give us an edge," Vaggie said with a small grin. Everyone at the table chuckled at this before they went back to their meal, deciding to enjoy what few precious moments they may have left before the fight that was coming. At the V's. Inside Vox's security room, the overlord of TV was watching security footage of everyone at the Hazbin Hotel getting ready for Extermination Day. "Holy F. They are gonna fight. Gahahaha. Oh, Alastor, I can't wait to see you get F." Vox yelled as he laughed at this. "Vox, what's with all the noise?" Velvet yelled as she poked her head into the room with Valentino entering the room. "Just enjoying the build-up to the big show," Vox said with a grin as he continued to watch. "Those F-wads are gonna actually try fighting back?" Valentino asked with a grin at this as he sat down in a seat in the room. Velvet looked at footage of Naruto helping the others get ready for the attack and smirked at this. "Oh, I'm gonna enjoy watching you fail at protecting that stupid hotel," she said as while she knew her ex was strong she didn't think that he had any chance against the angels, though obviously she was biased. At the hotel, Charlie, Vaggie and Naruto were outside the hotel where the army of cannibals were armed and ready along with the rest of the people staying at the hotel. "I wish Mom was here to see this," Charlie said to Vaggie as she sighed. "The cannibals seem ready to fight, are we?" Vaggie asked Charlie and Naruto. I am always ready for a good brawl, Naruto said as he nodded. Fear not. I shall have the staff ready for glorious combat. Sir Pentious yelled as he came out of the hotel dressed up in a blue general uniform looking proud. What the hell are you supposed to be? Vaggie asked as she looked at the dressed-up snake demon. General Pentious reporting for duty. I'll turn these rapscallions into soldiers in no time. Sir Pentious yelled as he gave a salute. Looking good buddy, Naruto said as he chuckled while giving the snake demon a thumbs up. Thanks Pen, Charlie said as she smiled at the general. What can I do to help? Niffty asked as she made her presence known. I'm glad you asked soldier, the base needs fortifications, reinforce the southern wall, build a moat around the perimeter to stop a ground assault, Sir Pentious said to Niffty, who looked up at him with her eye wide. How about this? If you see a angel, stab it, Charlie said as she held out an angelic dagger to Niffty. Got it. Niffty said with a grin on her face as she looked at Angeldust before she ran at him. Wrong angel. Wrong angel, the bad kind who want to kill us, including Shikaku. Naruto yelled as he quickly stopping her. They will bleed eternally for hurting my Shikaku. Love you baby. Niffty yelled with a grin as she waved at Shikaku, who was going through the box of angelic weapons. Shut up baby, I know it. Shikaku yelled as he went through the box of weapons. Listen up people. We have 24 hours before the extermination begins, let's get to work. Vaggie said to the gathered army. As everyone got to work on training for the upcoming battle, Naruto walked over to Kurama, who was talking with Luna, who had showed up to help. She was wearing what looked like some metal gauntlets that were made from angelic steel. Hey Luna, right? Glad to see you're here to help, Naruto said as he smiled at the hellhound. I'm here for Kurama, not you. I'm gonna go train up the cannibals, babe. Luna said as she glared at Naruto before she looked at Kurama and walked away, leaving Naruto and Kurama alone. She's not a fan of me, is she? Naruto asked after a few moments of silence. Yeah, well, you did have her man on a leash until a month ago, Kurama stated as he looked at Naruto and crossed his arms. Yeah, I'm still not proud of that, Naruto said with a sigh at this. Yeah, I'm not proud of what I did either, kid. If I hadn't sold out your mom to that as, then all of this wouldn't have happened to you, Kurama said as he sighed. Is the great nine-tailed fox actually apologizing? Naruto asked as he raised an eyebrow at this. Well, as Her Highness says, it starts with sorry, right? Kurama asked as he looked at Naruto. Heh, true, look, for what it's worth, I am sorry for how I treated you. Naruto said with a chuckle before he looked at Kurama with a firm and sincere look. Don't sweat it, kid, I have taken worse. You didn't do anything I didn't have coming, Kurama said as he shook his head. Yeah, well, how about we start over as friends, seeing as you and your siblings are actually helping protect this place? Naruto asked as he held out his hand to Kurama. Friends, eh? Heh, sure kid, Kurama asked before he chuckled and took Naruto's hand and shook it. You two aren't gonna kiss now, are you? Shikaku asked, announcing his presence behind them. Before he yelled as Kurama slammed his foot into his head. Shut up and get your sand ready for the fight, you idiot. Kurama yelled as he kicked the Tanuki demon back towards the stockpile of weapons. Yahui! Shikaku yelled as he fell into the stockpile. Still hard to believe he was a original overlord, Naruto said as he shook his head at this. I think that statistic where 1 in every 9 is retarded comes from him, Chomei said as he hovered in the air, his wings covered in angelic steel. You guys all geared up? Naruto asked the other tailed beasts who were standing nearby. You bet. That Carmilla has some good weapons, Sun said with a grin as he rested an angelic bow staff on his shoulders. Yeah, I'm surprised she made us special orders, Kokuo said as she did some practice kicks with her feet, showing off that they were covered in angelic steel. I will tear them apart from the inside out, ha 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 ha. Shikaku cackled happily as he showed off his sand, which had some ground up angelic steel in it. Does this make up for me choking? Naruto asked the mad Tanuki with a grin. Well, I'm getting to kill some angels, so yeah, we're cool now, Shikaku said as he nodded at Naruto. This will be quite cathartic, Matatabi said as she flexed her new clawed gauntlets. Hey hockey puck, you still alive in there? Shikaku spat as he picked Isabu up only to get sprayed in the face with water. I'm sure he will be ready to go when the fighting starts. Right? Saiken asked his brother. Isabu's shell shook at this. One shake means yes, right? Charlie asked curiously. Yup, now the rest of the army are waiting for your speech, sis, Naruto said with a smile at his sister. Charlie nodded at this as before she went to the podium in front of the gathered army. Oh, and don't worry kid, if and when we go all out we can still tell who's on our side, Kurama said Yo Naruto as he patted him on the shoulder. Naruto nodded at this as he walked over to the rest of the group so Charlie could give her speech. Hello, I want to thank everyone for coming, even people who aren't staying here yet, Charlie said into the microphone so everyone could hear her. Look, I can't resist a fight, okay? Especially when I get to tag team with this F-head. Cherry said with a grin as she put her arm around Angel's shoulder, causing him to smile back at her. Tomorrow the Exorcist Angels will face a hell ready to defend itself and win. Charlie said as she smiled at the crowd. Yeah. Yeah, we will, tell them, baby. Vaggie yelled out, deciding to show her support. Yes, and we are going to win. But in case we don't, I want you all to know that getting to know all of you has been the biggest honor of my life, Charlie said as she looked around all her friends who smiled back at her except for Cherry and Shikaku who had bored looks on their faces. Whatever redemption really means, I know you all tried, I have seen the good in all of you and I'm just. I love you all so much and live tonight however you want because Charlie was saying before. We're all gonna die. Ahahahahaha. Niffty yelled loudly before she started to laugh madly while everyone was looking at her with bewildered looks. I want you in the worst way. Shikaku said as he looked at Niffty, actually roaring the last two words. Which caused the maid of the hotel to smile madly and tackle the Tanuki demon, causing the both to start rolling on the ground as they started to make out. So who's hungry? Naruto asked after a few moments of awkward silence. I could eat, but first let's get those two in quarantine, Kurama said as he jerked a thumb at Shikaku and Niffty who were still making out. I'm on it, but I expect some good booze for this, Luna said as she grabbed the two demons and carted them off. Later inside the hotel, everyone was gathered around the bar area drinking and chatting with each other while also enjoying the buffet Naruto had laid out for all of them. While everyone was eating, Naruto was watching all his friends as they enjoyed themselves before tomorrow when the enemy would arrive. He then noticed Sir Pentioius, who was standing nearby watching Cherry, who was chatting with Angel, obviously wanting to talk to her but was too nervous. Naruto sighed at this before he approached Sir Pentioius. You know, a real general wouldn't be afraid to make a move before a glorious battle, he said to the snake demon as he took a drink from his glass. Do you think I have a chance? Sir Pentioius asked as he looked at Naruto. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Free advice, women like Cherry love guys with confidence, Naruto said as he patted Sir Pentioius on the back. Sir Pentioius listened to this before he looked at Cherry before he steeled his resolve and approached her after finishing his drink. Naruto chuckled at this as he walked off to go get some food from the buffet table where Alastor was standing eating some food. Ah, Naruto, my boy, I must say this is possibly the best meal you have made since you arrived here, Alastor said as he greeted Naruto. Well, I figured I may as well go all out with everyone's possible final meals, Naruto said as he looked at everyone else who was enjoying their food. And would this include going all out against the enemy? Alastor asked curiously as he swallowed his food. Well, that depends. Are you saying you can't handle Adam? Naruto asked as he knew that the plan was for Alastor to deal with Adam while the rest of them dealt with the exorcists. Alastor said nothing to this, but his smile didn't waver as his eyes slightly narrowed as he looked at Naruto. Rest assured, Alastor, if you fumble with dealing with that, as I'll step in, Naruto said with a casual tone. Why not take the dance together? Surely our powers together could put the buffoon down. Alastor said kindly. I'll be helping with leading the cannibals, seeing as Auntie told them to follow my orders, Naruto said as he walked away from Alastor. And why isn't your lovely lady joining us for this battle? Alastor asked with a grin. Politics, she's a sin and I don't want her getting into trouble by getting involved in this, Naruto said with a firm tone of voice. This should be quite entertaining, Alastor said with a smile as he too walked away from the buffet table and walked past a closet. The door of which was shaking violently as banging was heard from inside. Gahahaha. Give it to me, San Daddy. Niffty was heard cackling from inside the closet while Shikaku's roars were heard. The next morning, Naruto was sitting on the rooftop of the hotel waiting for the portal to heaven to open up in the sky along with everyone else who was waiting down in front of the hotel while the tailed beasts were standing next to Naruto. Suddenly a golden portal opened up in the sky and what looked like a legion of exorcist angels started to fly down towards the hotel. Now, for your souls. Vaggie yelled at everyone as she held up her spear. F them up. Charlie yelled as she held her shield at the ready while everyone charged at the enemy, the cannibals attacking the angels who attacked them with the weapons provided. Alastor smiled as he saw the approaching enemy. Let the slaughter begin. Ahahahahahaha, he cackled as he unleashed a massive amount of shadows which engulfed the entire hotel in a shield, trapping some of the exorcist army inside and causing the ones outside to crash into the shield. They appear to have some kind of shield, sir. Lute yelled as her mask showed a scowling face. Oh really? I didn't notice this giant FING shield in front of me, you dumb bee. No SHT. Adam yelled out in frustration. Suddenly the shadow tendrils attached to the shield slashed at the exorcists with some weapons, easily killing them. That's how they can kill us. With our own weapons. F weak. Adam yelled, seeing this, while Lute yelled as she charged. Eat that F airs, you made a mistake. Shikaku yelled, cackling with joy. Angels don't make mistakes, kitty litter. Adam yelled back. Cain and Abel. Shikaku yelled back. Does everyone who works for that half-breed F have to keep bringing that up? Adam yelled in frustration. As the battle raged on inside the shield, some exorcist angels flew at the front of the hotel where some egg bois were hiding but were stopped as Shikaku appeared in front of them. Welcome to the Hazbin Hotel. House of Redemption, come on a little closer. Step right up, test your strength. Shikaku shouted, raising up his arms, forming them into sand hammers, smashing them down on the exorcists, smashing them to golden paste thanks to the ground up angelic steel in his sand. Angelic weapons, fire. Serpentius yelled as he ordered some cannons to fire behind him while Angel and Cherry were fighting back-to-back, firing machine guns and losing bombs at the exorcists. Yelling while fighting doesn't help. Husk yelled as he slashed the exorcist with his cards. Gahahahahahaha. Niffty cackled as she ran over to the downed angels and stabbed them repeatedly with her knife before running to another one to do the same to them. Alastor's shield is working. We might actually have a chance. Charlie said with a smile as some exorcists flew at her, Vaggie and Naruto. DMN right, we will, sis. Naruto yelled as he kicked the exorcist in the chin, snapping its neck thanks to the angelic steel on his boots. Love the optimism, but trying to focus here. Vaggie yelled as she stabbed another exorcist with her spear. I'm so over this, Adam said with a scowl before he flew at the shield and slugged it hard, causing it to shatter. Angel said as they all saw the shield fall. Oh no, Charlie said, frowning at this. Adam smirked at this before he spotted Alastor, who was smiling back at him, and flew at the roof of the hotel where he was waiting. We have a lot more to deal with now, people. Luna yelled as she slashed the exorcist angel with her clawed gauntlets before she kicked another away. I'm on it. Let loose the RBB ducks of war. Naruto shouted, thrusting his hand up before snapping his fingers as a massive flood of RBB ducks spitting out fire, shooting bullets, carrying swords, axes, and spears erupted from the hotel doors, much to the shock of the group. What? Husk uttered. Duh, Angel continued. RBB duckies. Niffty squealed. Oh, what are our bunch of little RBB bath toys gonna argorg? Lute's taunting was off as duck but into her tights, yanking a chunk off, with several others flying in the sky in small biplanes shooting off a barrage of bullets upon the exorcist lieutenant. Several more and tanks took up alongside the rooftops and bridge firing off missiles. Goku roared, jumping into the air. Shrinking his form down to that of a chimp, he latched onto the back of Exorcist, smashing his fist into her face, melting her skin on impact before jumping to the next, biting into her neck. Goku flipped through the sky when a spiraling mist flew through the sky, catching all the Exorcists off guard before they all began tearing at the clothing as a boiling heat rushed through their bodies. Kokuo smirked through the mist as she flew by. Goku jumped onto her fog form, forming a staff of magma in his hands, smashing into any Exorcists that came in their way. Saiken curled himself up, shooting off bullets of concentrated smile hitting into the Exorcists. "You, what are you trying to do? Gross out, ow ow, Argorg." They all let out screams of agony as their skin began melting away from the burning acid smile covering their bodies. "Did I forget to mention my slime also works like nitroglycerin?" Saiken chuckled as Matatabi smirked, shooting off a single spark towards a burning Exorcist to cause a massive eruption of explosions. Husk. The cat sinner looked up as the beetle dropped into his hands. They were a pair of dice. "Well, ain't got nothing to lose," Husker said, tossing the dice down to the ground as bullets, explosions, and BLD flew. The 2-2 landed 1-1 and a 6. A golden light covered Husker's body as 6 copies of the former Overlord appeared, lined up and armed to fight. "Lucky 7, Husker muttered, looking up at Chomei. "My man. Let it ride, Cho." Husker laughed as he and his doppelgangers unleashed a spray of bullets upon the Exorcists. Chomei chuckled, extending his wing, slicing off the heads of 2 incoming Exorcists. Isabu, who was still in his shell, watched as the Exorcists marched toward his friends. The small turtle began shaking in his shell like it was about to explode. His single yellow eye lit up as while his 3 tails extended out from the back. Creech. Everyone looked up as something massive came crashing down to the hotel grounds. Everyone gasped, seeing Isbu in his full-tailed beast demon form. "I may not be coward, I may not be the strongest or the smartest Biju, but I will tell you this: nobody messes with my family." Isabu slammed his tails down, creating a massive fog around the Exorcists. "What this, you think a little fog is gonna help you?" An Exorcist laughed, swinging her blade, cutting off Angel's head, spraying his BLD out like a geyser, his golden BLD. "I've you now." An Exorcist shouted, slashing Matatabi across the chest, then just as blade pierced her chest. "What the F?" Angel said, watching as the Exorcists were slaughtering each other. "Isbu's fog can lure his victims into power hallucinations. It's a dangerous skill," Kokuo said as she kicked the Exorcist in the side, easily snapping their back thanks to her strength. Isabu opened his maw, shooting as the sounds of soft footsteps and screeches began to come from within his mouth. Emerging from it was a massive army of miniature Isbus crawling around the Exorcists, biting and gnawing on their flesh, causing them to scream out in pain. "Isabu can spawn minims," Husk exclaimed as he threw some cards at some incoming Exorcists. "That's bro for ya." Goku laughed, smashing his fist into the ground, creating another pillar of magma. "Fire." The Exorcists gathered together, gathering up together before they started to throw their spears at the enemy below. Guys, incoming," Angel yelled as he and Husk took cover. Everyone looked up as the barrage of spears came towards them, when suddenly something began forming around the entirety of the hotel, taking the full brunt of the attack. "Sand," the Exorcists exclaimed in surprise. "Wahoo! It's exorcism day on all you CNTS, so you'd better be ready to die," Shikaku proclaimed, thrusting his paw out proudly. "He's so dreamy." Niffty swooned with hearts in her eyes, hovering in the air only for Angel to quickly pull her down. "Have a taste of my sand coffins." Shikaku raised up his hands to the sky, causing the fallen chunks of sand to rise up from the ground, shooting for directly at the Exorcists, surrounding most of them. Then in a massive sand storm, when it faded, numerous Exorcists found themselves trapped inside of the sand, unable to budge at all. "What the F?" a Exorcist yelled from inside the sand. "Let me out here," another shouted. "I got sand up my ass. Now sand burial." Shikaku uttered, clenching his paw, smirking as he heard the screams of the Exorcists as the sand crushed their bodies, causing golden BLD to rain from the sky. Whoa, Husk said, his eyes widening at this show of brutally. I'm singing in the BLD. Just singing in the BLD. Niffty sung, dancing around the bloody rain. Goku jumped to the top of the roof, extending his arms outwards before bringing them together, extending his fingers as if forming the mouth of a beast. Hell rage burn. Goku shouted, shooting off a massive stream of molten magma from his hand. Wow, that kinda looks like he's, Pentioius said before he was cut off. SSSH. He hates that series. Kokuo warned as she made a killing gesture under her neck. Gyuki thrusted his tails outwards, ensnaring several exorcists around their waist. He then applied a massive force of pressure, causing them to snap in half. Gyuki looked up at Lute as she flew towards them and swung his horns directly at Lute, blocking her spear. You damned abomination! Lute roared, but was quickly pushed back by a powerful stream of blue flames. The lead exorcists glared as Vaggie stood alongside Matatabi, ready for battle. Die, you Cienti-mouth traitor! Lute roared as she charged at the duo. Bring it, Bee! Vaggie shouted as Matabi unleashed her flames in full force, blasting Lute back, pouncing into the air following after her. Lute swung her spear at the pair only to hit pure fire. She looked up to see form streams of fire surging down towards, engulfing her in flames. Ergga! Lute screamed in pain as the blue fires burned into her skin. When they cleared away, a large paw came down, clashing her across the face, carving out her right eye, causing Lute to cry out in pain before she was tackled down into the ground below. Kurama marched forward, opening his maw as all 9 of his tails extended outward before he unleashed a spiraling stream of black and red energy, carving through the approaching exorcists. He lunged upward, swiping his claws down, cutting off the heads of any exorcist in his way, snatching up a weapon he could until he had a weapon in each hand. He smiled, holding up each of his weapons before charging the approaching horde. Sorry. 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 Charlie yelled as she avoided attacks from exorcists before throwing some sparkles in their faces. Not the time for that, sis. Naruto yelled as he kicked the exorcist in the face as mote exorcists flew at them. Oh right, die mota F airs. Charlie yelled as she made a bigger explosion of fireworks, making the incoming exorcists back off. Better, Naruto said with a grin at this display. Charlie smiled back at her brother before more explosions started to go off, causing more of the army to scatter and try to take cover. SCK, my holy light F airs, yeah. Adam yelled with a grin as he fired blasts from his hands at the battle below him. What? But Alastor was supposed to handle him. Oh no, he must be, Charlie said as she frowned. Guess it's my turn then, Naruto said as he glared at Adam before he shot at him, his kicking strength leaving a small crater on the ground where he was standing before as he launched himself at Adam. As he did this, Serpentius saw this was happening and frowned before he grabbed Cherry, who was climbing past him. I'm trying to fight here. What are you, crazy? Cherry asked as she held a lit bomb. Yes. Serpentius yelled before he kissed the demon woman, causing her to drop the bomb, which went off and blew up several exorcists down below. Miss Cherry Bomb, I love you, remember me, Serpentius yelled as he slithered off towards his blimp, which was parked nearby. That was kinda hot, Cherry said, blinking in surprise before she smiled after the snake demon. Eggs, activate thrusters, and charge the death ray. Our friend Naruto will not fight the enemy alone. Pentioius ordered, his Egbois giving a salute as they began their preparations. On the battlefield, everyone took notice of the airship taking flight in the direction of the fight between Naruto and Adam. Pentious? Charlie questioned with worry. That crazy Mota F'er. Angel uttered with disbelief as the blimp took off. Naruto punched Adam across the face, avoiding a swing from his axe, the two zooming around the air, clashing against each other. Target in range. An Eggboy stated as Adam appeared on the screen. Fire. Pentious hissed as he glared at Adam. The death ray extended from the front of the ship, charging up its beam trained on Adam as he sent Naruto flying away from him with a punch. What the foo? Adam took notice of the ray and quickly fired off a beam of golden energy, wiping out the airship in the blink of an eye. That could have gone ugly, Adam said with a grin of relief. No. Charlie and Cherry cried out in horror and despair, the later falling to her knees sobbing into her hands. No, 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 no. Charlie sobbed. You did good, buddy. Angel said, gritting his teeth as he fought by his own sobbing at the loss of his long-time enemy turned friend. The tailed beast were frozen in shock at the sight of the brave sinner's sacrifice. Each one of them let loose a primal roar before they began to relentlessly assault the exorcists. Naruto was frozen in shock at the sight he had just witnessed, Serpentius, a wannabe joke of a villain, someone his sister had put her faith into redeeming, someone who had become one of the few true friends he had in this messed up place, had just sacrificed his life to try and save his. And yet here was this arrogant, self-absorbed, insufferable piece of absolute SHT laughing at the life he had just taken like it was nothing to him at all. Naruto grit his teeth so tightly they threatened to crack from the pressure blood leaking out from his fist. "You son of a b," he yelled as he leapt at Adam and sent a punch at his face, which Adam blocked by grabbing Naruto's wrist. "Whoa there, dude. The only son of a b I see is you. After all your hot where mom gave BRTH to your sorry," as Adam said mockingly as Naruto growled in rage before Adam threw him to the ground, making a small crater which Naruto stood up from. "With the V's. Well, at least when he dies he have one less thorn in our side," Vox muttered as him and his fellow overlords watched this fight. "Kill that mot-half. Kill him." Velvet yelled at the TV with a mad grin. "Is that why you and he broke up, or is it because you were SHT in bed, darling?" Valentino asked, smirking at Velvet, who growled at him before seeing Adam float down towards Naruto. "With Naruto. Look at you, boy. You're too afraid to reveal what you are to these demonic pissants out of fear. You're weak. Worthless. You make others fight for you because you know you can't avenge mommy on your own. So why don't you just lie back and take it? Just like your pathetic B-mom." Adam yelled, cackling as he sent an energy wave at Naruto. Naruto's eyes widened at the oncoming beam before his face went into a scowl as his Muramasa blade appeared in his hand and sliced the beam in half. "Huh?" Adam questioned as he didn't expect his holy light to disappear. "You know something, I should thank you," Naruto said as he glared up at the first man. "Oh. For what?" "The realization of how useless you are." Adam asked, smirking before his eyes widened as black flames surrounded Naruto, covering his entire form like a flaming black and white cocoon. "With the V's. Is that normal for him?" Valentino questioned. "I've never seen this." "Velvet, have you?" Vox asked, turning to Velvet, who stared at the screen confused on what her ex was doing. "With Angel and the others. Since when can he use black flames?" Angel asked, confused. "So he's finally going all out, huh?" Charlie said, staring intently at Naruto's flame cocoon. "The hell are you on about?" Cherry asked the princess. "Just watch. You're about to get a real taste of Naruto's power," Matatabi said firmly as the cocoon of flames suddenly shot into a geyser and revealing Naruto in a new form. On his head lay one large horn on one side, his eyes glowing bright white. A large black trenchcoat laid upon his form as one black feathered angel wing and one white angel wing sprouted from his back. "There now for my thanks. Let me thank you for making me embrace my full power. Now do me a favor and embrace your end." Naruto yelled as if his voice was three voices overlapping at once before at hyperspeed he flew at Adam. "Okay, wasn't expecting that," Adam admitted before he was suddenly backhanded down to the ground, where Naruto appeared and kicked him back up into the sky before vanishing and appearing behind him, slamming his fist into the first man's neck. "With Angel and the others. Holy SHT. He's an angel too?" Angel asked, wide-eyed. "This power, it's unreal for an overlord," Husk muttered with his tail standing on end. "An angel and demon both? What is he?" Cherry asked, wide-eyed and open-mouthed. "A Nephilim," Vaggie said, looking up at the fight with a calculating look, "a species that is forbidden to even exist. Angelic BLD and demonic BLD united in one being," Vaggie explained. "With the V's. Holy SHT. Vox yelled wide-eyed in shock at what the adopted son of Lucifer was doing to Adam. How does such power exist? Valentino asked wide-eyed as his pipe fell from his mouth in shock. He could feel Naruto's power through the TV. He hid this much power. He hid this from me. Velvet asked shocked as she started to realize she underestimated her ex for way too long. And now she knows what he can do. With Naruto. You know something, I always walk on eggshells around the people of hell. Never having the opportunity to unleash my full power. As if everyone and everything around me is like cardboard. Like it'll break from my sheer presence. But you present me a rare opportunity. You give me the chance to see how strong I really am. So do me a favor. Don't break too fast, Naruto said before he vanished and slashed at Adam. Oh, so you got some new look. Big F deal still doesn't change. A massive spraying of BLD erupted from Adam's chest, cutting off his ranting. The first man slowly looked down at his robes to see a massive cross cut across them. What the F is this, Doc? Adam screamed out in pain as golden spears of light pierced through each of his knees. He glared at Naruto and unleashed a blast of holy energy upon the Nephilim. Naruto raised his hand as the blast crashed into the face of his palm, barely moving him an inch. You gotta be shitting me. Adam screamed out in disbelief. My turn, Naruto said, holding out his hand, shooting a small blast of his own, blasting a hole Adam's right arm. Aw. Ergga. You little half-breed freak. Do you know what this gonna do to my career? Adam shouted in rage, only to met with a hard uppercut sending him upwards. He didn't get far as Naruto reappeared, smashing knee into Adam's face, breaking both his nose and his mask with his BLD shooting from his nose and mouth as he was knocked back down to the ground. Me. That's all you've ever cared about. It's no wonder my dad stole your wife twice. Naruto said with a smirk. You think you can judge me? Your so-called dad's the most hated being in all of creation and you're AF abomination. Adam ranted, firing off more blasts at Naruto as they both took flight. Well, Lilith didn't seem to hate what he had to offer, or Eve. Bow chica wow. Naruto teased, slapping away his attacks, furthering enraging Adam. I'll end you. Adam roared, drawing his axe, swinging at Naruto, who easily dodged his attack like it was nothing. Nice try, douchebag. Naruto said, kicking Adam across the face, knocking him back. That's it. I have had enough, you little SHT. Adam yelled as he shot at Naruto, his axe ready, which started to pulse with power and grew bigger. Naruto growled as he swung his blade at Adam, their blades clashing together, but after a few moments of struggle Naruto's blade cracked before it broke and Adam's axe slashed Naruto across the chest. Gah! Naruto yelled as he was sent flying into the rooftop of the Hazbin Hotel. Gahahaha. You may be part angel, but you don't know SHT on how to use that part of your power, you little bee. Adam yelled as he flew at Naruto, ready to finish him off. Naruto. Razzle dazzle. Charlie yelled before she looked at her dragon companions, who flew at her as she was engulfed in a tornado of flames, and as the tornado of flames flew around her, a pitchfork formed in her hands and she grew a pair of horns and a demon tail. When the flames faded she jumped onto Razzle back and flew up towards the rooftop of the Hotel Dazzle right behind them. She looked down and saw Adam had his heel on Naruto's neck as he pointed his axe at him. Any last words? Adam asked with a grin which could be seen through his cracked mask. You better make sure I'm dead, otherwise I'm gonna kill you, Naruto choked out as he tried to remove Adam's foot from his neck. And that's why you suck at using angelic powers. I at least fight to keep you heirs in your place. Adam yelled as he raised his axe to finish Naruto off. Before Charlie's pitchfork stabbed through his shoulder from behind, and with a shout she spun around and threw him off Naruto, causing him to smash into the back of the hotel sign. Stay the F away from my brother, pig. Charlie growled as she aimed her pitchfork at Adam as he started to get up, holding his bleeding shoulder. What the F? That F hurt. Adam yelled as he looked at the BLD on his hand. Charlie glared at Adam while Naruto struggled to his feet while holding his wound. Heh, okay then, Adam said as he flew at Charlie ready to kill her along with Naruto. But. Smash! He was slugged hard in the face and sent into the hotel sign again, but this time he bounced off it and slammed into the skylight, shattering it. Dad! Charlie said as she saw Lucifer hovering in front of her and Naruto with his wings out. Sorry I'm late, make sure Naruto is okay, Lucifer said as he looked at his children before he turned to glare at Adam, who was climbing out of the destroyed skylight. How many of you F-airs do I have to fight? Adam yelled in frustration as he climbed to his feet, showing his mask was now gone, showing he was actually handsome. I'm the only one that matters, you see you went after my kid, so now I am going to F you. Lucifer said with a grin. This got stunned silence from everyone on the battlefield. Dear Penthouse Forum, Kokuo said with a grin before Matatabi slapped the back of her head. Okay, two things: one, it's F you up, and two, I didn't even attack your kid yet, that one isn't your kid. Adam yelled as he pointed at Naruto, who was still struggling to his feet. Lucifer's eyes narrowed at this before he instantly shot at Adam and attacked him, causing them both to go through the hotel sign and start to fight in the skies above. Hey, get him, Dad, Naruto said with a chuckle before wincing in pain from his wound. Naruto! Charlie yelled as she ran towards her brother's side. You slippery F-er! Adam yelled as he threw a octopus form Lucifer off him before he charged a massive holy beam and fired it at home, but missed, causing it to hit the hotel right between the two siblings, causing the hotel to be ripped in half. No! Charlie yelled as she fell down the hole along with Naruto. Naruto groaned as he tried to fly and get to his sister to catch her, but his wound from Adam's was slowing him down. Before he could get to Charlie, however, Lucifer caught her in his arms. I got ya, Lucifer said with a smile at his daughter, who smiled back at him. Die with your stupid kids! Adam yelled as he fired about blast at them. Naruto watched as the blast approached him and his family before his eyes narrowed, and as he started to charge his own power, his angelic wings started to glow, and suddenly two more angelic wings appeared underneath his first angelic wing. Adam! Naruto roared at the first man as he gathered a massive amount of golden energy in his hand before giving a vicious roar, releasing his blast upon Adam, who could only look on with horror as the blast consumed his body. DDMNU. Minatuu. Adam screamed before his entire body was completely erased by the blast, leaving nothing of him remaining as the blast continued to fire and consumed the rocket range behind the hotel. Everyone down below stopped fighting as they looked shocked at this display of power as Lucifer, Charlie and Naruto landed near them. Lute could only look up at the scene with horror edged in her eyes, witnessing her leader's death. Seeing all that remained of her leaders was his halo, which she grabbed. No! Lute screamed just as Matabi pounced down, pinning her to the ground under her feet, snarling as she glared at the silver-haired exorcist. It's over. Charlie said as she and her family landed on the ground. Take your little friends and go home. Lucifer shouted with a demonic tone before shifting back to a polite smile. Please. Lute could only glare at the royal family of hell looking away in defeat. She'd lost an arm, an eye, and now her beloved MSTR. Retreat, all exorcists fall back. Lute said as Matatabi got off her, allowing Lute and the others to fly off into the sky and through the portal. So who wants pancakes? Lucifer asked everyone with a smile. Everyone groaned at this as they were tired except for Niffty and Shikaku, who held up their hands excitedly. Later. Good evening. I'm Katie Killjoy, Katie reported over the TV for all of hell to hear. And I'm Dash, Tom Trench was saying till Katie shoved him aside. No one gives a SHT who you are, Tom. Breaking news: Extermination Day is cancelled. Charliemorningstar managed to fend off the angelic attack with more than just nice words. In an unseen turn of events, our demonic head honcho Lucifer stepped in to save his daughters and adopted sons as at the last moment. We're also hearing reports that Adam, leader of the angelic legions, first man and totally able bad boy, has been slain by the adopted prince himself. Katie said with a smile as footage of the massive blast that vaporized Adam was shown. Anyway, congrats to Charlie and her crew for not being totally useless for once. Speaking of crew, the Prince of Hell specifically. All of Hell now has learned of him being half angel-blooded and half demon-blooded. Meaning Adam's place as the #1 bad boy has been replaced by our psychotic Nephilim prince. What will this mean for Hell? Who cares? Yo Prince, if you or B are watching this, give me a call. We can totally three-way. Katie exclaimed with a grin as Tom made a gauging gesture to the camera. With the V's. As Vox and Valentino celebrated the shake-up the recent battle had caused, Velvet was looking at a spread of pictures of everyone that lived at the Hazbin Hotel and growled as she looked at Naruto's picture before she threw a knife, hitting the picture. With Naruto. It had taken some work, but everyone was now working together to rebuild the hotel after some encouragement from Lucifer. Even Cherry was happily helping them with rebuilding the hotel. Currently Naruto was cooking some food outside thanks to the outside kitchen Lucifer had provided for him after he had healed up from his wound. Okay, you lot, take all this out to everyone, Naruto said to the group of egg bois that were behind him waiting for orders. Okay boss, Frank said with a salute and a smile as they all got to work taking the food to everyone who was working HRD on rebuilding the hotel. Naruto smiled back at the egg bois before slightly frowning as he thought about their old boss. Don't worry buddy, I'll look out for them for you my friend, he thought to himself as he went back to work. Are you doing okay? Charlie asked as she approached him. I'm fine sis, I'm fully healed. Geez, Naruto said with a chuckle as he shook his head. I mean, are you okay with how things went down with Sir Pentious and you being outed as a Nephilim? Charlie said with a frown as she knew there would be plenty of people in hell that would have problems with him now. I'm fine sis, I'm more mad about Pentious than that. Whatever happens next I'll deal with it, Naruto said with a firm tone. You mean we will deal with it, Charlie said with a firm tone as she looked at her brother, wanting him to know she had his back. Right, Naruto said as he nodded and smiled. Hey, we have a problem over here. Kurama yelled out from where everyone was working. What is it? Charlie asked as she and Naruto walked over. The fat as is here and she's got a bad case of BBCD. Shikaku yelled as he and Niffty hid behind Kurama while pointing at B, who had just arrived and looked angry. BBCD? Angel asked, raising an eyebrow at this. BB crazy disease, Kurama said with a snicker at his little brother. You're next after I deal with my boyfriend. B barked as she landed on the ground and glared at Naruto. What's the problem B? Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow at this. This isn't about him being a Nephilim, is it? Vaggie asked as she crossed her arms and gave B a look. Heaven no. I'm mad that you didn't tell me you had wings. We could have been flying as a couple all this time and you didn't even tell me. B yelled as she approached Naruto. This caused everyone to faceplant in surprise while Niffty and Shikaku burst out laughing. Well, at least it can't get worse if this is all you're mad about, Naruto said with a chuckle at his girlfriend. Heaven. Meanwhile in heaven, after the surprise arrival of Sir Pentious to heaven, Sarah was making her way towards a chamber that she hardly ever had to visit. As she approached the doors, they opened for her, revealing it was an office with a very nice desk at the end of the room. And sitting at the desk was what looked like a male seraphim with 6 wings. He also had spiky blonde hair and blue eyes. Sarah approached the desk and after a few moments of the male seraphim looking over the paperwork he was reading, she cleared her throat to get his attention. The male seraphim looked up at Sarah before sighing. What is it, Sarah? He asked with an even tone. Sarah gained a firm look on her face as she looked at the male seraphim. We need to talk about your son Minato. We zoom around the many buildings of the Pride Ring when we come to the Hazbin Hotel. The roof entrance slowly opens as Naruto walks in, pulling along Charlie, Vaggie, Angel, Pentioius, Husker, Niffty, and Alastor. Naruto sat huddled in the darkness of the sidewalk as hundreds of sinners walked by, their red eyes blazing. He gave a defeated sigh standing up as he made his way up a set of steps. One broke apart, sending him sinking into a pool of darkness. As he fell into the depths he reached outwards to image of Kushina. Naruto stands alone in a void looking up to see the golden gates of heaven before him. A mad grinning Adam stands behind her as Lute and the exorcists appear, reaching out behind him. Life death. Suddenly a hand shot out, grabbing his hand, revealing Charlie with a wide grin at Naruto along with their friends waiting for him. The Hazbin crew ran through the streets smiling and laughing along the way. Naruto was working in the kitchen with Niffty lugging a bit of dead cow around while Angel was sneaking bites of food, causing Vaggie to shout, lecturing him, while Charlie looked on with a fond smile. Kurama runs screaming with his tail lit on fire by Matatabi. Shikako lounges in his own personal desert while the eyes lay cracked and fried, while Isbu floats in the aquarium hiding in his shell. Gyuki and Sun engage in a chess match while Kokuo waits to play the winner. Naruto rides on his motorcycle, while Charlie and the gang ride in her limo and Pentioius flies in his airship. Chibi versions of the gang pass through hell, passing by Carmilla and her daughters along with Zestial and the Versus, who have grumpy expressions on their faces. Alastor appears slamming down his staff, covering them in mud. The group sits together around a campfire on the roof of the hotel, looking up at the stars in the sky, everyone sharing happy smiles on their faces, looking to what the world had for them next. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for more crossovers. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author KFB Anime 87 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.